face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
A man that sacrificed his whole life to help that dream come true, not just for himself, but for an entire nation, for an entire civilization of how we interact and respect one another and how we look at one another.
It seems so real being in a place where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Seeing the balcony, seeing the Cadillac and the room numbers is just crazy on how people treat each other. So we have to be that change agent to end all of the violence and be more peaceful people and loving and spreading love.
When we were taught about Mahatma Gandhi in his efforts of independence with India, Dr. King was strongly influenced by Mr. Gandhi's teachings of non-violence. So that really struck a chord with me on how he fought for the freedom of the African American here in the United States.
The time is always right to do what is right, by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I wanted to share 5 things that most people probably don't know about Martin Luther King. The first thing is he actually skipped grades 9 and 12, and he enrolled at Morehouse College at the age of 15. His I Have a Dream speech at the Lincoln Memorial wasn't his first time speaking there. He actually spoke at a prayer for freedom at the Lincoln Memorial. Martin Luther King there was an attempted assassination on his life a decade before he actually died, as he was doing a book signing in Harlem. And Martin Luther King was jailed 29 times for civil disobedience and trumped up charges. And the last thing that I recall is Martin Luther King and George Washington are the only 2 Americans who have their birthday observed as a national holiday.
Black History Month is a way for a culture of people in the nation, the globe, to celebrate contributions made by really unique individuals whose talents and gifts were appreciated and respected. And it's an opportunity for a group of folks to celebrate it.
I think it's very important to preserve history. Not just the history of the lab, but the history of the African American culture. I recently had an opportunity to visit the new Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. in honor of Black or African Americans, and it was phenomenal. I saw young, I saw old, but for the most part, the majority of the attendees, they looked like me.
But when I went to Georgia, I walked into this store not realizing that it was whites only. But when I walked into the store, usually people greet you. No one came. So I just kind of just looking around and just to see if someone would say something. But so nobody showed up, so I decided to just leave. And when I looked at the window, I saw whites only. It surprised me because this is in the 70s.
The African American race is a rubber ball. The harder you dash it to the ground, the higher it will rise. It's an African proverb. And so when I read those words, it reminds me that, yeah, I might go down today, but I'm coming up tomorrow. And I'm looking for tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that, because that means there's promise, there's an expectation, and a delivery. And I claim that. I refuse to accept not coming up.